Good morning. Take your seats, please, if you will. Take a moment to silence your telephones. Please put them on vibrate or something so we don't interrupt one another. Welcome to the County Commission meeting, and today's Thursday, February the 13th, 2014. Pastor Kathy Wright from the Milton First United Methodist Church will open us in a word of prayer. Pastor.
Thank you, Commissioner. Let us pray. Most gracious and loving God, we come to you with grateful hearts, grateful to live in a land in which we elect people to represent us, and which we, the people, get to determine who those people will be. Bless now the members of the Santa Rosa County Commission. They have difficult decisions to make this day. Infuse them with your wisdom and discernment, and may they be instilled with your sense of justice and mercy, good stewardship, and all a loving kindness, so that they make the best decision for all of Santa Rosa County this day. We ask that you also bless the staff and the employees of Santa Rosa County, help them in doing their jobs this day, keep them safe, so that they may continue to bless all of us. We pray this in the name of Jesus the Christ, who with you and the Holy Spirit now lives and reigns forever and ever. Amen.
Okay, before we proceed with the approval of the minutes, I'll begin with my right. Commissioner Salter, do you have any additions to the?
Mr. Chairman, I have one addition, and that is to recommend a letter of support for the City of Milton's new sewer plant to be located in on the north property of the industrial park, and I would like to include that as number 4B on the administrative committee.
Got it. Thank you, Commissioner Cole.
No addition.
Commissioner Lynch.
No changes, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Walker. County, rest of the staff. Okay. Move approval of the minutes for January 23rd, 2014 regular meeting. Do so without objection. Hearing none, they are approved. We've move approval of the agenda for today without objection. Hearing none, it is approved. Next item is a presentation for our Public Service Employee of the Year 2013. Mr. Walker.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for the opportunity to recognize our public services employees. We have 4 of our employees here today. They are the recipients of the Employee of the Quarter Award for 2013. And so just sort of in the order that they were selected throughout the year is the way I will introduce those, and then we'll introduce the Employee of the Year from those 4. Our first quarter was Aaron Malback. Aaron, if you'll stand up, if each of you just stand and sit back. Aaron serves as our housing program coordinator out at the Development Services Center. She came to work with the county in 2006 in our department, and Erin has just done a great job of picking up the job of overseeing that department when Janice Boone retired, and we're just proud to have Erin, who has continued to work and to serve those folks that in need of housing help. Thank you, Erin. Second quarter was Ed McCants. Ed came to work with the county in 2006. He works as a veteran service specialist. He primarily works in our South Service Center. And Ed has really done a good job of being able to relate to our veterans and to really show them a genuine care. And that shows in the job that he does and the responses we get from our customers, and we just thank Ed for his interest and desire to serve the folks in our county. Thank you, Ed. The third quarter was Dale Hamilton. Dale currently is our Animal Services Director. Prior to that, Dale actually came to work with the county in 2006 in our building inspection department during our the downturn in the economy and our cutbacks. He accepted a position that was open in the Animal Services Department. And of course, since that time, he worked in an interim position while Dominic was out sick and was selected as the director of that department. And Dale has done a great job in that department. Thank you, Dale. And then fourth is Lori Schultz. Lori works as an office assistant for the Housing and Veteran Services Department. She does the administrative functions for both of those offices. And Lori has worked for the county since 2003. She has shown a genuine interest in helping both the veterans and our housing folks, and really done a good job of relating to those folks and making them feel that someone cares. And she's done a great job of meeting the administrative needs for two departments. Thank you, Lori. And so, as always, it's difficult to choose between good employees, but we have to select one. And so, for the year 2013, our Employee of the Year is Dale Hamilton. Dale? I just want to recognize Dale again. I said a lot, but during the time of the transition when Dominic was out sick and Dale was working both a night shift and filling that role, and he did a great job. I just want to take the chance to recognize our Animal Services Department. That is a very difficult job. I would say the most difficult job we have in the county. There's a lot of emotions involved with that particular job that are very difficult to deal with. Our folks do a great job of balancing the needs, and we appreciate what they do. Dale, I'll get a picture with you, and then once we do that, if we'll let you go up and get a picture with the board. Thank you.
And as a reminder, we have a public hearing at 9:30, and we will pick that item up at 9:30. We will be discussing an amendment to the ordinance for 2012-1 to include an exemption for tangible personal property to the Economic Development Incentive Ordinance for qualified businesses. Okay, next is Economic Development. Commissioner Salter.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have three items. First is to recommend FY 2013 through 2014 Team Florida Partnership Program Commitment Agreement, including allocation of $25,000 from the electric franchise fees for local participation. And I would move approval without objection.
Hearing none, it passes.
Number two, recommend 2013-2014 Florida Defense Infrastructure Grant Agreement in the amount of $200,000 for continuation of property acquisition proximate to NAS Whiting Field and outlying fields. And I'd move approval without objection.
Hearing none, it passes.
Number three, recommend FY 2013-2014 Florida Defense Reinvestment Grant Agreement in the amount of $80,000 for military support services. And I would recommend approval without objection.
Hearing none, it passes.
That concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Next on the agenda is the Administrative Committee. Item number one is discussion of the two proposed judicial facility sites, US 90 represented by Coldwell Banker Realtors and the Avalon Boulevard owned by JDL of Santa Rosa LLC. We've discussed this at length Monday, and I'm sure the weeks prior to that, and all day Tuesday and Wednesday with constituents. So we'll open this discussion, I guess, on my right, Commissioner Salter, if you would.
Mr. Chairman, let me say first of all that from day one I thought that both of these sites, the Highway 90 site and the Avalon Boulevard site, was the best two sites. Either one of them would serve the needs of a new courthouse. However, I continue to like and support the Highway 90 site because it is centrally located. Cost development is about the same for Avalon Boulevard, depending on where we put it on Highway 90. It has potential for growth and expansion 25 years from now, 40 years from now, and we certainly need to keep that in mind as we make a decision. So I'm going to continue to support the Highway 90 site, acknowledging that both sites are very good sites. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Salter. Commissioner Cole?
I continue to support the Highway 90 site for several of the reasons that Commissioner Salter stated, but I've also looked into the traffic count there. There's 8,800 more car movements on Highway 90 that are permissible before we'd lose a level of service. So that's quite a few traffic counts that I feel like we'll see. Also, as Avalon Boulevard becomes finished, I think we're going to see more people that are going to Pensacola or heading in that direction use Avalon Boulevard. That'll increase the traffic there. But something that I'm real concerned with is a lot of constituents have asked me about, a facility on the south end of the county. And the Avalon Boulevard piece, we would encompass the entire piece of property, whereas on the acreage that's on Highway 90, there would be a remaining 35 acres. There's a 50-acre parcel behind that. It would give us the ability, we've had an indication from the owner on the parcel on the backside that he'd be willing to deed a right-of-way to the county to try to start a connector corridor to Hamilton Bridge Road. I do know that a bridge across Pond Creek would be very expensive, but if citizens or companies are willing to give the property, say across this 50 acres, across the next 50 acres, the 20 acres that lies on the north side of Pond Creek, if they're willing to provide that property at no charge to the county, everybody knows that when we go to build roads, when we have to acquire property or move a business, move a home, it's very expensive. So I think if we're starting out with no cost on property for this corridor, it would somewhat offset the cost of the bridge. Then finally, going back to the need that this county is going to see in the future on the south end. A lot of south end citizens have talked to me about, well, really there's more people down there. Why don't we build a courthouse down there on the south end? And there are a lot of citizens down there, but it's very congested now. But as our county grows, just like with our neighboring county in Okaloosa, where there's an annex on the south end, I see in the future, and if we don't start planning for our future, we're going to run into the same things we do now, like on Highway 98. If there had been better planning, perhaps there'd be service roads. So let's try to look to the future. The property on Highway 90 with the adjoining property might give this board the ability to put in place tax incremental financing as a district. And of course, those funds wouldn't be able to pay for a judicial center that we're building there or would like to build there today. But in the future, maybe those funds could be set aside for an annex on the south end or for that bridge. So it's something, we need to focus on the whole big picture. I think Avalon doesn't give us the ability to design that future big picture where the Highway 90 property does. We can start planning for the needs that, a lot of us aren't going to be around here to see, but our children and their children will. So I'd like us to take a longer look at this for the future and what possibilities we have for designing what the county could have as a good payback on investment on where we build this facility, because without a doubt it's going to grow. There's going to be legal firms, court reporters, restaurants, people that are going to want to be around this facility, so it's going to see growth. The Avalon property, it's already in amongst the neighborhoods. So what we're going to see there, I believe, is, somebody coming in and wanting to buy a home and turning it into a law firm. And now we're going to have to go through rezoning. We're going to be upsetting a neighborhood that's already established as a neighborhood. So weighing the two, I'm going to stay with the Highway 90 piece of property. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Cole. Commissioner Lynchard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As I stated on Monday, I think that the Avalon site is better suited for several reasons. Primarily, it has two access routes, Avalon and Mulat. It has frontage on both, so it opens up the access possibilities. You have better access from the south end, albeit marginally. It's about 3 miles closer. That being said, I think the easiest way to scuttle this whole process is to have a divided board right out of the gate when it comes to selection of the property. Both sites, I think, are suitable for development of a judicial center. The Highway 90 site has its own set of advantages, primarily being the additional acreage surrounding the location that could act as an incubator for additional professional offices to come in and those ancillary businesses that are going to sprout up around the judicial facility. So based on that, I can support the Highway 90 site in the interest of moving the project forward, because I think if we split on this, that again, that's the easiest way to scuttle the whole process.
Thank you, Commissioner Lynchard. I've wrestled with this long and hard, and I sat down last night and decided I would treat it the way I did when I was still a practicing CPA, and I had a client asking me what the best business decision would be, in my opinion, for their situation. And so in order to arrive at that, I made many of the assumptions you heard Commissioner Cole lay out. I started with a Highway 90 property, and I made some assumptions that he didn't. I made the assumption that the owner of the property would donate the footprint for the courthouse. I made the assumption that the owners of the properties north up toward Hickory Hammock would donate those properties, because to really make that site work, you need to have that interconnectivity. Then I took the price of the courthouse at roughly $35 million. That's constant, and that applies to both sites. I then took the construction cost with a very conservative estimate. In 2007, the construction cost across the right-of-way did not include right-of-way acquisition, did not include the other things you have to go through with the various agencies and the hydrology and those sorts of things. But I took that number, and that number Mr. Blaylock worked on for the board, and that number is $26 million, and that's the construction cost of the connector. And if you take the $35 million courthouse, land is free, and the $26 million construction for the connector, and the land is free. And then you would compare that to the acreage on Avalon that I think with is $3 million. Then we would have some money to be spent on Avalon for cut-throughs and lights. Call that $2 million just to be fair. And then $35 million to build a courthouse. And the answer kind of falls out. It's in dollars and cents. Avalon makes the most sense for the taxpayers of Santa Rosa County, in my opinion. And I will hasten to add that I am a retired CPA. I am not licensed to practice, and I in no way intended that to be anything other than Jim Melvin's personal opinion. But that's my take on it. And before we go any further, this is one of the more important issues that we'll deal with in quite a while. So we'll open this now to comments from the public. If you choose to comment, you have to fill out a form. Give us your name and address for the record. And keep your comments civil, please, and on point. Let's don't get off onto other subjects. Let's stick to the courthouse.
Loretta Aiken, 1828 Sundown Drive, Navarre. I remember when we first started talking about it, courthouse, that we had I believe it was a lawyer who wanted to give us acreage on Highway 90, and all he asked was an easement back to the back of the property so he could build office buildings, etc. I would prefer us not pay for land if we can make it happen. And yes, we do need to look at the interest of the south end plus the north end and what's the best financial deal for the citizens, because we're prone to not look beyond today. And what about the future? Well, maybe we need more land. Maybe we put in a restaurant there so workers could eat and people from the prison in different areas could come and eat, because sometimes you come to the courthouse, it's all day. So I would like for y'all to consider if you're going to put in a courthouse and where you're going to put it, but also look at some other things that we need, but look at free is good for the county.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bill Bledsoe, gadabout from Milton. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, staff, and guests, I would like to remind you of the criteria that you issued in September of last year. Minimum of 10 acres. And you want to buy property when you already own property? Spend taxpayers' money. Will the seller sell for less? Who cares? You've got property, you don't have to spend, and you don't have to worry about a price. A proposal should include the price of the property. You're talking about spending. These thousands of dollars and even millions that Chairman Melvin was talking about. Don't waste taxpayers' money on new property. That's not a good campaign issue or slogan. You've got the property, use the money that you would spend on new property and put it into the facility on the property you already have. Would a CPA go along with that kind of thinking? I think your taxpayers would. Include information on the ownership. Well, we already know who owns some property that's available, and that's the county. We don't have to investigate any political connections with the property owners. I deliberately left out the issue of 2.5 mile radius of Avalon and Highway 90. I don't understand the holy, sanctified opinion of that area. I've never heard any convincing arguments about it. And I've never heard anybody give a convincing argument that East Milton is not good enough. Now, we talk about doing traffic studies. Did you ever do a people study, find out how many people actually go to the courthouse? Of course not. You did? I've never read it or heard it published. But I'm sure that the number is very smaller than your traffic study will show. Well, my opinion, for what it's worth, is East Milton. Don't spend taxpayers' money when you don't have to. I don't understand that kind of thinking from people that are supposed to be representing the taxpayers, and you want to spend it when it is not necessary. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Wallace Mahout, 5500 Cox Road, Milton, Florida. I have to say that I agree with not building, I think Mr. Melvin said, a $25 million road. What was the...
It was a very conservative number of 26, and that did not include any fines or impact fees that the DEP may assess.
Which would be the road that would take us from Highway 90 back to a courthouse, back behind the Coldwell property on 90.
That's right, but that number is only valid if the right-of-way is donated, because the right-of-way acquisition is not included in that number.
Right.
Mr. Chairman, please.
Commissioner Salter.
Wallace, just for clarification, we're talking about two different potential projects here. One is the courthouse site and how much that costs. The other $26 million is for future road expansion. That's not part of the current cost of the courthouse.
Yes, but that money's going to have to come from somewhere at some time.
Well, it was offered.
If I,
Excuse me, just one moment. It was offered as a rationale. It was offered as a reinforcing argument for Highway 90. So I think it's maybe a fair subject. Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't think we should get lost on this tangent with an access road. There are other opportunities for that road. Within the last 12 or 18 months, the school board acquired some property east of this, or west, I'm sorry, of this location. And one condition of their zoning approval was that a right-of-way would be granted to the county for a future access connection to Hamilton Bridge Road and points north. So, and that wouldn't require a $25 million investment. So don't get lost by those numbers, because I don't know that those are particularly germane to this discussion.
If the right-of-ways are not granted, what is the cost of that road? Do you know?
I have no idea.
Okay. And then I also heard if people are willing to give property to offset the cost of this bridge that would have to be built, that's speculation. That's not fact. Right now, you're looking at that courthouse, and I've been told let's just concentrate on the courthouse. So you can't kind of insinuate, well, we're going to get property donated to build this bridge. So you may not. Avalon has just been widened. I say don't clog it back up. Highway 90 is at a C rating right now. That property is in a closed basin, which may result in flooding if things aren't done right the first time. You have free property offered in East Milton with sewerage, electric, anything you want, maybe even more property. Mr. Byram said he may even donate more property. Is that correct, if you need it?
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Cole.
Thank you. Back when we were having those discussions, Mr. Byram did indicate that if we bought the property to make a connector to South Airport, he would provide more property to that, so that would give it two connectors. And I just want to be clear that I've never objected or taken East Milton out of the mix on this whole thing, but enough has been shown to me as a commissioner that I've paid attention to over the last few years on return on investment, and as Bill was saying, we didn't do a people count. I think we're doing our people count right now, but the traffic in East Milton is more congested, and the level of service through downtown Milton from Avalon Boulevard to, let's say, the east side of Milton is already below a rating where it's we shouldn't be adding to that. So there's a lot of good points, I think, still for East Milton as far as the location, having the property and stuff. My main objective now as a commissioner is where have all you been for the last 11 years? I've been trying to make that issue. I mean, we're in the 11th hour now on a piece of property, and I do appreciate you showing up and being here, but my objective now is to get a judicial center built, get us out of the embarrassing situation we have downtown right now before I would think the federal government or the state government tells us we have to. So that's my issue now. Let's get this thing moving forward. And again, I thank everybody for supporting, the east side of town. But sometimes when you're sitting up here, you have to, you have to give and take to get something done. So.
Okay, thank you. I do appreciate all the points of view, but I have to say, East Milton can be accessible through a lot of ways, especially the Pullum Park, and that property was $3 million, and it's free for the taking for a judicial center. So thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Matthew, turn the light back on. It just went out somehow. There you go.
We working there? Great. Mr. Chairman, I moved to Milton from Chattanooga, Tennessee in the summer of 2006 to practice law at what was then the firm of Johnson, Green & Miller. I'm proud to say T. Saul Johnson was a friend and a mentor to me, and he was certainly much better equipped than I am to share his opinions on the question of the Santa Rosa County Courthouse. That's an issue that concerned him deeply as someone who spent over 40 years of his life serving in and around that building. I've now lived in Milton for 8 years. My profession has remained the same, but my job has changed. When I came here, I was an associate attorney employed by the best boss I've ever had. Now I'm an employer, and the responsibility of having other people depend on my profession for their livelihood weighs on me, and it causes me to take more of an interest in what happens in this community than I have previously. I'm here today because I saw a for sale sign a few weeks ago. I was driving home through downtown Milton. I noticed that sign on the window of Associated Court Reporters on Willing Street next to the courthouse, and that concerned me and it surprised me. The owner there, Melissa Odom, has been working on that corner for 25 years. So I stopped and I talked to her, and then after that conversation, I talked with more people. I talked with my partners, my employees, other members of the Milton community. And after these conversations, I've come to a realization. I don't have the luxury of sitting back and letting more experienced or better-known members of the community speak on this issue. I believe that Councilman Cole wondered aloud during the Monday committee meeting, where are the people on the courthouse? For better or worse, here are my thoughts. I have 3 points I want to raise today. First is regarding public debate. I think that the discussion on this issue has been far too limited in terms of public awareness and public access. Frankly, many of the people who are going to be impacted most directly by the potential rebuild or relocation of the courthouse are hard at work when the commission meets at 9 a.m. On Thursdays. In my opinion, the 9 a.m. meetings are unacceptable for this issue. Most of the local Milton attorneys who I have spoken with about today's meeting were unable to attend due to the fact that they had prior court engagements. Furthermore, when you combine with that the fact that the agenda is not published until less than 24 hours prior to the meeting, it just creates roadblocks for the people who are going to be affected by this decision to come and make their voices heard. And I think it's critical that needs to happen. So my first point, I think it's imperative that we not roadblock the people who are going to be affected by this decision from making their opinions known here. And I would ask that we have some number of discussions on the courthouse question that are held in the evenings outside normal business hours. I'm confident you'll get more and better input from your constituents if we do that. Second point I want to make is regarding the courthouse is this. I think that the current location in downtown Milton should be among the options that are being discussed as this commission considers building a new judicial facility. I reviewed minutes and transcripts for county commission meetings as far back as January of 2000, when the commissioners then voted to engage the design firm of HOK Incorporated to draw plans for a new judicial facility located on the existing courthouse property. I'm not claiming my research as either exhaustive or authoritative, but I could not find in any of those minutes from 2000 to the present an actual vote motioned, seconded, and approved by a majority of the commission to exclude the current location from consideration. I found statements by a number of commissioners as to their personal opinion that the current location was unacceptable, but no vote. So I pose the question, what's wrong with the current location? Commissioner Cole was cited in yesterday's Santa Rosa County Press Gazette as saying that the downtown area is too expensive because building a multi-story courthouse with multi-story parking in a flood zone was cost prohibitive. Again, if this determination was made by the commission, I can't find in the minutes of the meetings where that decision was made. What I did find in the minutes of the January 11, 2000 meeting of the commission was very interesting. A number of design firms, including the one that ultimately was retained, gave presentations to the commission regarding how they would handle this project. HOK noted at that time that they had extensive experience working with issues such as sloped building sites, traffic flow problems, floodplain issues. The HOK representative was specifically asked by the commissioners about those challenges presented by the concerns at the present location. HOK said then that there were no concerns on the existing site that could not be addressed. I should point out that based on these representations, upwards of $400,000 was spent by the commission to order plans for a new structure on that existing location. So that I asked that question, if the parking and flood zone issues presented no problem for the designers in 2000, what has changed since then that necessitates exclusion of this property from consideration for a new facility? My final point is one that I hope to expand on in future commission meetings, and that is that I believe the current location of the Santa Rosa County Courthouse offers benefits for the location of a new judicial facility that make it superior to the other proposed locations the committee is considering. Conversely, I think that moving the courthouse away from its current location in the county seat of Milton would have a serious adverse effect on both the city of Milton and Santa Rosa County at large. I'm a lawyer. The courthouse is where I conduct business. My firm and many other firms like it have elected to locate ourselves in close proximity to the current courthouse. For many, a relocation of the courthouse to another spot is going to prove a severe logistical and financial hardship. For some, the uncertainty of the location has halted growth and expansion that would have otherwise taken place in downtown Milton. I make no bones about it, I love living and working in Milton. I enjoy the collegiality of the people that I work with as well as against. I want to see Milton grow, I want to see it prosper. And specifically within our legal community, I want to see firms adding members, adding more employees, and doing more work. But I honestly believe moving the courthouse will devastate the working community in downtown Milton that I'm now proud to be a part of. I don't want to drive through downtown Milton and see more for sale signs. Now, I know there are a lot of different issues to be considered by the commission in resolving this question, but I believe the points I've offered for your consideration today have not been fully discussed and debated up to this point. And I don't know how this story is going to end, but if somebody asks where are the people on this, you can say you've heard from a few today, and you'll probably hear from at least one of us again. So thank you for your time today.
Thank you for your comments.
Ruth DuPont Esser, 4371 Maryland Court, Gulf Breeze, Florida. I have been in this county for almost 20 years, and I have been in land development for almost 20 years, and so I'm going to speak to this subject from that avenue. We are choosing between two sites. That's the fact, 90 and Avalon. And my feelings are that we need to be transparent with all the pieces of this transaction, not only to include the owners of any of the land that this would be on, but also the owners of the land surrounding it. Bigger than that, we need to include all cost factors that will hit this. We can't take and erase some of them or ignore some of them. They are a package deal. When Garcon Point was put in, it cost $55 million for the road and $45 million for the DEP impact fee. We're talking about a $35 million courthouse on either site. But on the Highway 90 site, we are talking about needing an avenue to get to it. And if it's going to cost, say, $30 million for the avenue, we have to add that other possibly $25 million for the impact fee, which when it comes to a total package, we're deciding between $35 million on one site, maybe 40, and close to $100 million on the other, possibly. What I ask is that before we make a decision, that we handle this like we would any business deal. If you're going to go to the bank to make a loan, you can't go to that bank thinking you might have the solid number that's going to equal what you need to create the project. You have to have a full study showing all facts and all figures. We are spending the Santa Rosa County people's tax dollars. It is immoral to go to them and say, we think we can do it for this amount, and then have to continue to tax them for another 10 years for a higher amount. Everyone in Santa Rosa County wants to see us have a courthouse. We've wanted to see it for years. But before, it was canceled because too many projects, other than the courthouse, were pinned to it, and the people felt it cost too much. Let's not go there again. Let's make this thing work, and let's keep all the citizens of this county knowing exact figures. Let's call DEP. Let's ask them what that impact fee will be. Let's have a concise package that includes all figures, that when we hand it to the people of the county, we can stand behind those figures, look them in the eyes, and know we've done this project honestly. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you. My name is Jennifer Infinger Freeman, and I live on Willard Norris Road. And I've lived in Northwest Florida for 43 years, and I've owned property and paid taxes for 32 years. I vote in all elections, primaries, local, and national. The question is where to build the courthouse, and according to the recent Press Gazette, it has already been narrowed down to two places. However, the public really has not been regularly and routinely informed of the other options that were available until here recently, and, who made the decision. It does seem like that there are variable opinions that are being expressed, at least in the Press Gazette, and also in comments and communications that I've had with others. The people in the country used to have a saying, a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. The county already owns land in East Milton of adequate size to build a courthouse with parking. Traditionally, communities in our nation have been divided by barriers such as railroad tracks, redlining, rivers and streams, and so forth. Not all can be overcome by government or its regulations, but we're at a crossroad of opportunity for our local government to extend its investment towards East Milton and become pivotal for growth and development. Blackwater River has divided east from west long enough. If the economy holds, then Highway 90 will be four-laned. It is just a matter of time and initiative. If the economy tanks, then any decisions which increase the debts will look foolish in hindsight, if not, to put it rudely, stupid. A purchase of property involves debt which obligates all who are present and all who come after until it's paid. If you build the new courthouse in East Milton, it may help to pull the progress of the city together and spur opportunities for growth and development in areas which are currently lacking in stimulus. On the other hand, the Avalon-Milton-Pea Ridge triangle are already desirable and stimulated for growth and development by the private sector. A county land purchase would remove a portion of ownership from the private sector into the public domain, neither adding to its enrichment and denying the enrichment of other areas. The given is what you have in your hand today. We have no certainty regarding the challenges of tomorrow, such as economic, but we may be sure there will be some. So I would like you to consider East Milton. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'm Wayne Smiley. I live in Mr. Salter's district. I'm a combat Vietnam vet. I think East Milton's a good thing if we've already got the land there and we don't have to buy more land. I think we should look for a very good product, a building that's going to last for many years, also some expansion on it. How are you going to pay for it? I got to pay for it. These people out here have to pay for it with taxes. So what is the tax burden going to be on we the people? Do you have any plans?
Mr. Chairman.
What raise the taxes y'all are going to do?
Commissioner Cole, would you like to?
Sure. Wayne and everybody, we've looked at this and without a doubt, the best source of revenue to build this is going to be a sales tax. And there's two options I would think we would have. One, I would believe may be more palatable than the other. One, of course, would be a 1-cent sales tax that we could put to bed in about 3 years. The other may be consideration of a 0.5-cent sales tax for 6 or 7 years, because truthfully, we're paying 6.5 cents. there's no such thing as a half cent. So, if you spend $1, you're paying that other half cent now. So perhaps, if we get that far, and hopefully we will, that may be the better route to go. It'd be a half cent sales tax but these are the hurdles we have to get over. Today we need to get to the property location. Then this board, we can go out and talk to citizens about, the option we have. I've explored everything we can as far as a way to pay for it, and to me, that's the only option. Not because just not us, the citizens, but our visitors, our passers-throughs also get to pick up part of that tab, to the tune of probably 35-40% of it maybe. So that would be an incentive I would have because of that. So it's about the best answer I can give you right now.
Yeah, okay. Well, it's a bad economy with Obamacare hitting us in their wallet. I got a friend just got hit with a $400 light bill through the winter. I mean, you can't get blood out of a turnip, and the taxpayers have been squeezed pretty tight already. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning. I'm Carl Hudgens, 3412 Barkwood Drive in Pace. And I've been eager for a courthouse for 10 or 15 years in Santa Rosa County. And I still think we need either to rebuild our current location or build a courthouse somewhere, but it's got to be reasonable. We don't need a Taj Mahal. And I'm very leery of getting into a combination deal where we're building a courthouse and developing land. Really, we're kind of gun shy on those kind of things now in Santa Rosa County. And I'm not going to blame anybody here, but I just want to run down just a few off the top of my head, and there's others that will affect the way people vote on whether they're going to fund this thing with additional taxes or not. There's still some feelings from the Pullen property deal that, a portion of our citizens feel like maybe that wasn't done in the best thing, and a developer got rich off of that. A developer who probably was already rich got richer. And I'm just telling you the sense of the community here. Then the 5 points, development came through, and we paid a developer something like $2.5 million for a strip of land that off a piece that he had recently paid a $1.1 million for. Just so happened that he had held that land just long enough to where the sale to the county would fall under the capital gains advantage there. So there's no time. You can't prove that there was any deals made, but it just doesn't look right. And so anything you do here with acquiring property has to look right, or the people are not going to add taxes to themselves. Another deal, when we were trying to get the road tax, 1 cent road tax, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, it didn't look right, and people defeated it because the road happened to circle a major development that was going in. I think that was called the Eagle property or something like that. So this thing's got to look right. Now, to me, the Highway 90 thing just doesn't look right now. Especially, and I appreciate Commissioner Lynchard for bringing up I wasn't aware that the school board had done something there. We all know that we've needed a connector road from Highway 90 to Hamilton Bridge into Willard Norris for a long time to create a traffic grid instead of creating clogged arteries. But it's got to look right. It's got to be done right. And I think maybe the school board's heading in that direction. I'm not sure. I'd like to hear more about that, but that's encouraging. But to buy another piece of property that might somewhere and cost us $26 million for a connector there, and it's going to create road frontage and developable land for more developers, That doesn't look right. I'm not aware of the Avalon Boulevard property that much, so there again, I'll just say, if that's a combination developer deal, you need to be very careful when you're going down that road. Now, the Byram property and the East Milton property, the Byram property is 2 miles from the current courthouse. I like what the gentleman said about the current location. That needs to be looked at again, I think. But I understand some of the things that have been talked about with that. But it's 2 miles to the east. Now, if you're telling me that if you go 2 more miles one way or another, it's going to add traffic to Highway 90, people that are already going to one location, the people that are going 2 more miles are going to add to going that direction, but the people coming back are going to take away traffic going to that from the other direction. So I don't see a major traffic impact with that, and we're going to have a new bridge across the river there. We could actually build a nice corridor and improve that section from Highway 90 to the 2 miles out towards the Byram property. The Byram property is free again, and we could actually improve that area, make a nice corridor that now this would eventually would have to be included within Milton city limits. Is that correct? Does the courthouse have to be within the city limits? No. Okay. Well, I'm glad to hear that.
I think if it's not, I think they just have to annex that portion. Don't have to do that either. Okay.
It doesn't have to be connected. Okay. Good. But still, that's just 2 miles and it's free property. So I think that's something that really needs to be allowed to be revisited again. And then the property that we own out in the East Milton area by the prison, I see advantages there too. So, and another lady said that, we've got the property we've already paid $3 million for out at 87 and Highway 90. So I think narrowing it down to just 2 within a 2.5 mile radius of one intersection right now without the public input is probably premature. I think we need to get this thing done, be aware that what we do now is going to affect our vote on whether we add taxes to ourselves. If a property is locked in and we say we're going to do it, and then the stories start coming out about it's going to make one developer rich here or there, we're not going to get the sales tax. It's not going to pass. So, because there will be a period of time between y'all locking in that and the people voting, which there should be. So I appreciate it. I know it's a big decision. I'm encouraged that finally maybe we're going to get something going down the road. But it's got to be done in the right way. Thank you for all your time and efforts in this.
Thank you for your comments.
issue.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi there, I'm Debbie Gano. I'm from Navarre, Florida. I wasn't going to speak today, but having heard others talk about the options that we have before us, and we've narrowed it down to 2 pieces of property, it looks like. My question is, why are we looking at something that we have to buy when we already have land in our hands? We have to be frugal today. We have people that are barely able to put food on their tables. We have people that can't afford to buy gas to get back and forth to work because of the increased costs that we have just in day-to-day living. We're being nickeled and dimed to death. We've had increases in our utility rates. We've had increases in the cost of food. We've had increases that people just cannot afford. And you're talking about adding either more in a sales tax or trying to figure out how else you pay for it. We've got to look at where we can save, not where we can spend. And if it means that we give up a nice piece of property because, and move to a location that's not necessarily convenient for everybody, then so be it. You know, we do what we can to save and to keep the costs down as low as possible so that we don't add to the stress on families in how they're able to take care of their families. So please look at using a piece of property that already exists, possibly out on the east side of Milton, out by the jail. Let's look at, you know, properties that we already have in our hand before we start looking at property that we have to buy.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good morning, Commissioners. I don't come down here very much and don't come before this.
Billy, I need you to give your name and address for the record. We all know who you are, but we need you
I'm
to give the
sorry,
name
I've
and
already-
address for the
yeah.
record.
My name is Bill Wiggins, and I live at 6049 Mayberry Lane, Milton, Florida. I don't come down very much to complain or to make any points with anybody in this commission. I felt very strongly about what's going on here today, and I thought I ought to come and express my opinion on it. I have several questions and then have several remarks after that. We're talking about a piece of property on Highway 90. Have we established a price on this property yet?
Yes, that was included in the request for proposal. And just let me clear up something that was said earlier. And again, I was afraid we were going to get lost in the $26 million cost of the bridge, and I think to some extent we have. We do have an apples-to-apples comparison for the two sites, Avalon and Highway 90. The Avalon estimate is a little tighter because it's a defined piece of property. The property on Highway 90 is a large piece of property, and the county has the ability to sort of pick and choose where the courthouse goes within that site, and the price per acre varies on the property on Highway 90 because it's a large site. I don't know, what, 50 acres or so, the total acreage. The Avalon property, we had Hatchmont McDonald prepared an opinion of probable construction costs on both sites. Now, this is not vertical construction. This is not the cost of the courthouse. This is the cost to acquire the land and develop the site work, okay? Avalon, the property acquisition cost, $1,030,000. Total project cost, $1.9 million. 20% contingency for, you know, because this is an estimate. Brings your total estimated cost to $3.3 million, okay? Over on Highway 90, depending on where within that footprint, within that 50-acre footprint, the courthouse goes, it ranges from $840,000 for property acquisition up to about $1.3 million. And so the total estimated cost are about $3.17 million. You've got $3.17 million to acquire the property, develop the site on Highway 90, $3.3 million to acquire the property, develop the site on Avalon. And again, the bridge discussion is really, that's not part of this. We're talking about the cost to acquire the property and develop the courthouse. Now, the argument, put it in East Milton, we have free property over there, or we have an offer of free property over there. We do. We also own property in the industrial park. But there are more considerations than just the price of the property or the price of your site. Because we're building a courthouse for the next 75 to 100 years. That's why a location in the center of the county was so important when we started this project back in August. And there has been that opportunity. Again, I think it was August when we initially started discussing this in earnest. This time we issued the request for proposals. The courthouse is estimated to cost $30 to $35 million. $840,000 to $1,030,000, you're looking at less than 3% of the value of the project to put it in a location that's going to be convenient, by and large, to the largest number of residents in the county. It's easy access from Gulf Breeze. It's easy access from Pace, Milton, Navarre. I think that is an overriding consideration here. The other property in East Milton, the Pullum property, the county owns it. We purchased it for $3.2 million back in 2009. It is industrially zoned. It would have easy access. It's right off of I-10. It's industrial property. It's 90 acres, I think, that the county owns. And then there's another 100+ acres of industrial property that surrounds that area. So if we build a courthouse there, and then someone decides to put a chemical plant over there, or some other conflicting activity, that's not compatible with a courthouse. Putting it in the industrial park by the jail, we have property there. Again, you have industrial users located there. So it's not compatible with that location, in my mind. I think the centrally located area would be the best for the long-term good of the county. The downtown site, the cost considerations for raising the existing courthouse and building vertically there were not just dreamed up by the board. There were engineers who looked at it and estimated the cost of shoring up the foundation, driving the pilings. I forget how deep they would have had to have gone to stabilize the ground so that we could have gone vertical there. And the cost to do that is more than the cost of buying, much more than the cost of buying property elsewhere in a location that doesn't have the same traffic congestion problems. So that's where we are.
I'd like to add a comment there before we proceed. The discussion of the bridge is being kind of blown off this morning, but it was offered in mitigation Monday to the congestion argument. The argument was that Highway 90 is out this way is functioning at a sea level. Anything below that is failure, and the road connector, as convenient as it would be, was offered as mitigation, and frankly, in my mind, it made the thing acceptable. The only thing that makes that site not acceptable in my mind today is the cost. If that connector were something you could afford, I think it'd be a great site, and I would be willing to give it more consideration than I have. But the road came up as a plus to that site. So I'm sorry I interrupted you. Go right ahead.
Are we talking about the Highway 90 property? Are we talking about the front part of it or the back part of it?
Mr. Chairman, Bill, I don't think that decision has been made yet. I think we've got two options on Highway 90. We can look at the front part or we can look at the back part. I think today the first thing we got to do is finalize, hopefully, the Highway 90 site, and then we will re-engage the owner, in my opinion, to look at the both potential sites, the front and the back, and see what we really need.
And another comment here, this discussion this morning was all predicated on the backside and $400,000 for the property on the backside. So the front side property, if we're going to talk about that, is considerably more expensive. But go ahead, Mr. Williams.
I would hate to see, if you decide to put it on 90, that we make the same mistake that we made on supposedly the commercial park, industrial park on Highway 87. If you decide to put it on 90, let's put it up front. Let's don't put it in the back. If you're going to build it there, put it where people can see it. Be proud of it. don't put it in the back. We've made one mistake by buying a piece of property and letting the owner keep the front part. And if we built anything there, you couldn't see it from the road. Let's don't make that same mistake again. Needless to say, I'm for the Avalon piece of property. And the reason that I'm for it is because it's somewhat closer to the people in the south end of the county. And talked with several people in the south end last night, a couple in Gulf Breeze and a couple of in Navarro. And they all indicated it appears to me that they're trying to get it as far away from the people in the south end as they can get it. I don't think you're doing that, but this is what some of them are saying. And they said if they put it on 90, we're not going to vote for it. Now, we've had this happen one time or two times. I don't remember. I'm 82 years old. I can't remember what happened yesterday. But we need to understand those people need to have something themselves. I would much prefer to see this go south of the place it is on highway, on Avalon Boulevard right now. I would much prefer that you put it closer to the people in the south end of the county. They pay taxes like everybody else, and they deserve a break too. I do not understand, first of all, why we say we're going to put it on one of these two spots. All you've done then is you've said to the owners of those two properties, you can jack your price up any way you want to because we're going to put it on one of the two pieces of property. In my opinion, we ought to have checked on all the pieces of property and negotiate a firm price on it. And in that way, they can't jack the price up because they don't know where it's going. Do I make myself clear? But those people in the south end deserve to be able to come up here and not drive the many miles that they have to drive to come up here and do business in our judicial system. I'd like to ask each and every one of you to search your souls here today with the people in the south end in mind and do what's right by the people of Santa Rosa County. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your comments.
May I please return?
Yes, ma'am.
Jennifer Freeman. A lot is being said about access and traffic conditions, and the reality is that the access and the traffic conditions are going to be a concern primarily to those who frequent the courthouse, which usually are, and inclusive of the employees and those elected, those officials that work at the courthouse, and the attorneys who attend. Now, other people that go to a courthouse will go wherever we need to go because we do it for our medical appointments. If I don't find a specialist here in this county that I need to see, I will go to Pensacola 30 miles away to make that appointment. And such occurs as far as the private sector and its business on a normal daily basis. However, the employees that work in our areas of government already have one benefit that the private sector doesn't have. They pretty much have job security as long as they do their job. And oftentimes they even have a certain security in their salaries, which the private sector doesn't have. They can pretty well count on commissioners coming through and eventually making decisions where they will get their increases, whether the private sector gets an increase in their salary or not. The other factor is that to take land that is already privately owned, but it's already in a progressed area that is well developed and is growing already, is removing that private property from the private domain. It is placing it in the public domain where it can no longer grow except within the confines of government. But you've got another area out there in East Milton. Now, I don't understand exactly the argument of the industrial park. I could if we had a lot of chemical industries already, you might say in the pipeline, to come out there to the industrial park, but I don't believe we do. If we did, we would already see a potential for a lot of growth there and a stimulus to East Milton. But we already have industry right here in Pace and in Pea Ridge that are of a chemical nature. Therefore, since the county controls that land, I don't see where it is so frozen and set in stone that you could not change the use of the land if it was advantageous to the decisions that would benefit the community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry. Loretta Aiken, 1828 Sundown Drive, Navarre. I'm speaking from the south end. I bet you I drive up here 100 times a year or more, and I come right up 87, go right past the Byron property, come right on into Milton, and it's not a big deal. The people in Gulf Breeze, they got their fabulous bridge. They can pay $7 and come across and come up and shoot over on I-10. They're right. It's not a big deal about where we put it. Avalon is too busy for me. I don't like Avalon. I always come up 87 and do what I'm going to do. I just feel like you haven't looked at the total package, and if you buy property, that's like just tossing that money away when you got free. Free is always better, and I'm encouraging you to look at those issues. And the industrial park, in my personal opinion and as a realtor, has not been properly promoted and shown. And what is it, 5 or 6 years now we're sitting on property, and it's expensive to you because you paid for it, but it's only $50,000 for an acre. Y'all had an opportunity, but you didn't listen to me. You could have had hundreds of realtors promoting that property for you, and you would have had a sale way before now. But I'm encouraging you to look at Highway 90. I don't think it's a big deal. I do think Avalon's already super busy. I think that the Highway 90 area hasn't even ever built up in East Milton, and that's a great opportunity. You've got an airport there. What if somebody has to fly in to go to court? You've got a lot of stuff there. You need to paint your picture, put it all on a map so we can look at what you're looking at and what opportunities we have. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Don Richards, 1129 Park Lane, Gulf Breeze. Commissioners, I try to stay engaged as much as I possibly can in all of the legislative and local activities that affect the South End. As president of United Peninsula, it runs all the way from Gulf Breeze to Navarre. It covers 2 of your different districts. And I get a lot of phone calls and a lot of emails that assume that there's a lot of thought and process that goes into making these decisions. What I've heard here this morning, found out that I wasn't the only one that was a little bit confused, because I thought we were developing an alternative to the site that we talked about years ago that was supposed to be close for Sheriff Hall to transport his prisoners at a very low cost, like a closed-in corridor from the prison to the courthouse, that it was already going to be built on property that we owned. And then I hear 90% of these people out here asking questions, and the first analysis that I have really heard succinct was what Commissioner Lynchard laid out with a few points about these are some deciding points. We have Channel 3 here, we've got the newspaper here, but I don't hear us putting out in succinctly clear information, communicating to the people that voted you in, and hopefully they'll vote you in again if that's what you want, but we got to communicate. That's one of the things that I get criticized for, because I have a bunch of balls in the air all the time, and they're saying, well, you didn't tell us about that. And I said, well, we got it resolved. We got it done. That's what you wanted done. But sometimes they want to know the process that you go through. And I don't think we have done an effective job of saying, how did we get from building a courthouse by the prison or building a new courthouse where the courthouse is now to deciding today, where it says discussion, it doesn't say making a final decision, it says discussing it, but we're going to make a decision today on one of two properties. I'm like the gentleman that said, if we're negotiating, if we're in business and we're negotiating to buy a piece of property, I'm sure not going to go telling we're down to 2 pieces of property and it's going to be one or the other. I'm going to make them think I got 10 more that are free. And I thought that, as the chairman stated succinctly earlier, this would be donated in exchange for doing this. That's where I thought we were, not that we were going to be going and buying one of 2 pieces of property. And some of the other stuff came up about 2 months ago that said we're using data on Avalon that's outdated. It was 2007, and it's going through a major change. So if now we're using current information, publicize that. Let them know that you guys are really smart, because you are. You're representing a really good county. So let's show that we're making quality decisions. Thank you. Mr. Chairman. Don, before you get away, Don, you was talking about why don't we do a better job of getting Channel 3 to start publicizing early on, or the newspaper. Which commissioner's story would you tell? And that's what's got us to the point we are now, because there's been a difference of opinions on where we're trying to go. And I personally think the worst thing that can happen to a board is when you've got 4 or 5 different commissioners running to the media trying to sell their point versus the body of the board as a whole. And we've been going through this process now for numerous months. And along the way, we've looked at everything. And we're finally to the point now of trying to decide best location, future growth. But my point was going to be, you don't want 5 commissioners going to the media with different stories. Thank you.
And I would like to add that the data on Avalon, we've discussed quite a bit over the last short period of time that FDOT is in the process of updating the Avalon data. Avalon shows up rated a SEEK for level of service, and that's intuitively not right, and FDOT acknowledges that, and they're recomputing it. We don't have that number, but it's a brand new 4-lane highway. It's most likely at an A or a high B. Mr. Young, would you like to add a comment?
Jim Young, 5049 Basin Avenue. Yeah, I just wanted to make a few comments. I came to listen to the discussion, and I guess from a disclosure standpoint, for those that are listening, of the process that was put forward came out of multiple meetings, and then an RFP was advertised. You had, the best of my memory, you had 6 submissions. And from a disclosure standpoint, I was one. I got kicked out in the first round. But that's the way the game's played. No problem. And I think the part of the public that may have got engaged at a little later date, maybe some catching up they need to do, but I think the process has been about as forthcoming as it can be if you followed it. Of course, and sitting back and listening, you know, a couple of comments. When it comes to the cost of land, there is no free land. The county may own some property, which it does, and it's been described this morning in the East Milton sites that they own. That property has value. So even though it may have already been maybe paid for, you know, if through the Economic Development Organization, the industrial park land is listed at $50,000 an acre as a starting point, and then of course you can get deductions from that price based on capital contribution, job creation, so forth and so on. But my point is, it still has a $50,000 an acre value. So on a balance sheet standpoint, if it's 10 acres, it's $500,000 worth of land. Whether you've got it paid for or not is a cash flow issue, not a value issue. So there's no free land. And I'm talking about that the county owns, because it's in those particular two sites. And I'm hearing kind of two positions, and both positions are in one camp and one's by itself, I think. And I think it's a vision issue, and that is that there's a great concern, and there ought to be, and it's well-founded, that the first cost concern, the actual first cost, whether it's acquisition land, making the site pad ready, and the construction of the judicial center. You know, the one thing that's going to be, you know, you can assume, at least from an estimating standpoint, that's going to remain constant, is that the cost of the above-ground construction, wherever you may choose to put it, is going to be about the same. Okay. The site preparation to make it pad ready, and of course, the acquisition cost is going to be your variance. And Commissioner Lynchard has pointed out that, kind of reverse of what he said, but it'd be the same statement, is you could, with those same presentations and the work the engineers have done, the estimates, that 97%, 98% of the cost of this investment is a fixed cost, no matter where you put it. So I'm not trying to belittle the value of a dollar, because I believe anytime you put a comma in an amount of money, it's a serious amount of money. Whether it's $1,000, $10,000, $100,000, or $1 million, it doesn't make any difference. When you start putting commas in it, it's serious money. And I think the vision issue is location of the courthouse. One thing that has not been talked about is to use a figure like $35 million to $40 million, and I'm not trying to raise the price, I'm just picking a number. The number can be arbitrary. If you look at it as an investment, where are you going to get your best rate of return? If it's an economic driver, if it's an economic magnet. You know, I hear some attitudes, and if I'm using the wrong word, because I don't mean to offend anybody, but if you locate the facility so that it drives economic development, because there's continuous acres, for instance, the Highway 90 site that might make 85 to 100 acres available for future development by private developers, and the land value goes up, that's a good thing, because that means the tax revenue goes up. And if it's expensive property, you know, that's why I would say if you're going to be on the Highway 90, you go to the back and you leave those front, what they call hard corners in the commercial business, left to the private market. You increase the property, the land value for them, but over time, this is a 75 or 100-year commitment that you're making, hopefully, if you do it right. So room for expansion, quality of construction, But putting it on take a 10 or 12 or 15 acre parcel of land out of 100 acres of contiguous property, at least you have the opportunity through future activities of economic development. And the higher those values go, the higher the ad valorem taxes will be. And then it's, you know, if you're putting retail on it, if you're putting commercial, if you're putting hotels, restaurants, whatever, it doesn't make a difference. But that's the way. There is a attitude that says the county can locate this in such a place that it will pay for itself well before the life of the building is over. You know, so it's all, to me, it's about a vision thing. I understand the concern about first cost. That's true, but I'm also trying to recognize the fact that there's a, you know, $35 or $40 million investment this county is looking to make. No matter where they put it, 97 or 98% of that cost is going to be fixed. Where can you get the best bang for your buck? Internal rate of return is one of those ways. You know, you still keep the cost in line. And you can control that through, like I said, 97 or 98% of the cost is you can wrap your arms around that. And no matter where you put it, that's what it's going to cost. Because that cost is going to be driven by need. Occupancy needs, parking, so forth, you know, all the things engineers get into. I just don't want you to miss the opportunity that what else can this be? If it's an investment and not just money spent. If you spend the money and you put it in a place and that's what you got, there's a $35 million judicial center, then that's what you got. You know? Are any of those things guarantees? Nope. But if the money's going to be spent, you might as well take the chance to get a return on your investment. And I just, you know, I think that's kind of, I'm trying to put what I see the two visions in a nutshell. And that's why I'm saying that even in the vision of rate of return and return for investment for the county, long-term and ad valorem tax and increasing the tax base in the proper location, you still have the concern of first cost. You can still keep the cost, you know, as frugal as possible and still end up with an economic driver, an economic magnet. But locations is going to drive that second opportunity, which is a return on that investment. So I just wanted to voice that opinion. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Wallace Mahout, 5500 Cox Road, Milton, Florida. I did like what Mr. Young had to say about economic development. East Milton can really use some economic development. Already there are 2 industrial parks out there. So if you put the courthouse out there, the property is less expensive out there. Maybe there could be more economic development around that area if the courthouse is a draw. And I only have one more thing to say. Mr. Lynchard, I'm a little upset with you saying that you would allow a chemical plant in the I-10 business park. I spent 7 years trying to paying attention to what is going on out there with the water. The Fairpoint wells, Holly, Navarre, Midway, Gulf Breeze, East Milton, we now have an ordinance that protects that area. Why would you do that?
I should have said industrial uses, heavier industrial uses rather than chemical. You're correct.
Good.
That's
good.
Nonetheless,
I don't want a chemical plant near my house.
Nonetheless, it is surrounded by industrial property, and that was my point.
Or on top of the water. So please remember that. Remember that we need clean industry and clean economic development in East Milton. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate your comments.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commission, staff. Ed Carson, 6705 Shady Hollow Drive, Pace, Florida. I am in the business of commercial real estate development and general contracting. And I know that in order for me to do a project, it involves a good deal of due diligence. I have confidence that the staff has done that. I've heard a lot of people speaking today about different things. I'm not here to pass any judgment. I'm only here to ask and offer a suggestion to you that I think may be helpful. This due diligence information would certainly help a lot of people in this room, as well as the people of Santa Rosa County. Mr. Lynchard, I appreciate you stepping up and listing some of the things on the different properties. But for me, it's a very visual thing. When I'm examining this kind of a decision, I take pieces of paper and actually lay them side by side and say, this is better here. We're going to have signalization at this site. We don't need it there. Whatever the combinations are. I'm sure this has already been done, relatively sure. And I think it would be very helpful, not only to the people in the room, but also Santa Rosa County citizens. If this were published, y'all have a website. I'm pretty sure it could be put on there. What are the costs associated with developing these sites? This part of the courthouse job, in my opinion, is the easy part. The hard part is when you have to go out and convince the voters that this is a good decision y'all have made and we need a courthouse. So any information, and Mr. Richards spoke to this, that we can get out to the people so they're understanding all the facts and figures, why it can't be in East Milton, why it can be, whatever they are, I think would be a big step forward. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Sorry, it's my first time. Good morning. My name is Ron B.A. I live at 1638 Monet Drive in Gulf Breeze, actually Midway. We're going to have a sign up one day. I'm going to be very short. I've listened to a lot of things today up here, a lot of salient points that I was never aware of that have been brought up. I think there are good arguments for Mr. Salter's desires and for Mr. Cole's desires. But I think the biggest problem that I see is nobody knows what's going on except the people in this room. And Mr. Cole, I would say to you, sir, that when you asked the lady earlier, and I'll paraphrase here, where were you 10 years ago when we started at this? I think most of us were working at 9 o'clock in the morning, Mr. Cole, and most of us work every morning at 9 o'clock on a Thursday and a Monday. This is a very, very important issue to the county. You're asking the taxpayers of this county to dig into their pocket for a multi-million-dollar operation. And I dare say there's less than 20% of the people that know what's going on. We have got to, I think you are obligated to, get this information out to the masses. And the only way I see that can be done is by having evening meetings. In closing, I want to thank you for listening to me, and I want to especially thank the citizens of Santa Rosa County for giving me the constitutional right to be here. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Good morning. My name is Jerry Long. I manage a member of JDL Properties, and thank y'all. You want my address? Okay. 7920 Shelley Road, Pensacola, Florida. And I believe I left a piece of paper on your desk. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to speak, Mr. Chairman, Vice Chairman, and other commissioners and staff. I'm here, there's a lot of things y'all got to vote on and go on, and just to point out and not be contingent about which side is better, of course, I'm going to tell you that I think mine is, or ours is, the JDL property. One thing that I'm not sure if Ms. Jones got our email yesterday, and you board members have it now. The only thing that's contingent or a caveat or whatever on our property is we're willing to let our property sit available to you to the end of the year. That way you can go through the referendum process. We don't have any A option, B option, C option. You can put the courthouse on our property anywhere you want. You can put it up front, you can move it to the back a little bit. You've already got your buffer zones, which landscaping costs a lot, but I'm not here to pick apart what the FDOT is going to allow you to do, whether you're going to have to spend more money on our property to cut a driveway in. I will tell you, there's a driveway already there. It's already DOT permitted. It's 36 feet wide. We got that permit through the DOT and the county, the Santa Rosa County Planning and Zoning. We probably could have got more, but I think an ordinance in this own county wouldn't allow us to go ahead and put a better driveway in. The state, I think, what I remember right, was going to let us do it. But I think an ordinance, and maybe it come from Highway 98 or whatever. But anyway, we got a brand new road out here. We've got property on a brand new road, which also goes through to another road in which the county owns. You don't have no options. Maybe that's a good thing or a bad thing. But one thing that you don't have to do with this property that we're offering you is to sign or have an agreement with the developer that dictates what can go on the other four corners of the property, how you choose it. Now, I've looked at options A, B, and C, and either way you cut it, somewhere down the road, the developer, I assume, and I should not assume anything, but can use a road that the county built. A road costs $250,000 a foot, a good road. So, you may be back up here later on, and I'm not going to, the citizens and you guys pick what you want. From day one, we've clearly met all the conditions in the RFP. I think we've got, the deal we sent in yesterday, which we're willing to let go until November. And I hope that's helpful to you and the citizens of this county, and we just really appreciate the opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Okay. Commissioner Cole.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to take a moment, since a couple of things were kind of directed straight at me. I did ask the lady where she's been for the last 10 years, because I've heard a lot of comments today that address this board as if this is something we dreamed up overnight. This information, you may not can be here at 9 o'clock in the morning, but this information, these meetings are available on the internet 24 hours a day after they occur. Our email is available 24 hours a day. My phone's on 24 hours a day. So, I have a little rub with the fact that, okay, we didn't get this information. What I meant by the comment 11 years is 11 years ago, when I first got on this board, is when the first time this issue, I got really involved with the courthouse issue, and it failed then, and I took it to heart what the citizens said at that time. There was too many other things added to it, too many wish lists added, location, there was extra cost in the location. And over those 11 years, I've taken that to heart. To where I've talked to people about this, I've assured them that I would no way add other projects to this. I'd keep the cost down to a minimum. We wouldn't build a Taj Mahal. And we'll give the citizens reports quarterly as to where we are in collection of sales tax and where we are on our debt service. And we'll retire this as soon as we can. Whether it be a half cent or 1 cent, we'll retire it for only this project, no other projects. I've not changed that in the 10 years I've been talking about this and trying to get this. It's of no benefit to me other than a citizen of this county and a member of this board realization that we have to do something about the facility that we have down there right now. Mr. Counselor, you brought up a few things that I think I may have covered, but the idea of where did I come up with the idea that I said in the paper cost would occur for downtown. And basically that's common sense. It's currently built on a flood area of that river. We don't have sufficient room for 50, 60, or 100 more years down there. There's not more space in Milton. We're limited by the river, we're limited by the railroad, we're limited by other buildings, historic buildings that we can't tear them down to make a bigger new courthouse because they're historic functions. So basically, I based a lot of what I commented on just common sense and looking around, and the fact that the temporary units that we put in there had a larger cost than we first realized because of just putting basically portable units up on pilings to get them to stay put. What's it going to cost to put a multi-story judicial center or multi-story parking in that same area? So, no, it wasn't engineer ideas. It's everything that I've established over the last 10 years of being involved in this. The idea of the extra cost on the road, I agree. We just don't need to look at that now because that's just trying to plan for the future. Could we do this? So I don't want to convolute it with the cost of that road right now. We need to concentrate, as Commissioner Lynchard said, on the project at hand right now. But the two things I wanted to, and as far as people that are established down there, one person that's been there probably as long as anybody else is Butch Lindsay and his firm down there. And Butch told me several years ago, Bob, I don't care where you build it. We just got to do something. I think he's got as much vested interest down in downtown Milton as anybody. And then the new businesses that are trying to build downtown Milton don't know what's going to go on down there, so they're leery about how much they want to invest, whether it be a restaurant or whatever. I don't want to see anybody go out of business that currently has their building downtown, whether it be a court reporter, an attorney, or any related function. But moving it 2 miles either way shouldn't do that. Shouldn't put you out of business. I can't believe that. So 2 things I'd like to leave you with. We did, also the other thing I heard is, well, you're going to put it out there that you want this so they can raise the price up wherever they want. Those prices are already in the RFP for all those properties. They can't go up. Only thing we could do today by allowing staff a particular parcel is give that staff direction, okay, go out now and try to bring that cost down. Try to make the people that own the property aware of the value of the infrastructure and drive that cost down. It can't go up. It's already written down what the maximum cost of the property is. So as Mr. Wiggins says, they can't jack the price up wherever they want to because now we want their property. Those prices are already written down. And the final thing is we're not making a final decision today. We're giving staff the ability to go in that direction so that we can get some fully functional ideas on what our total costs are going to be and where we can get this to. And finally, we're always open to input. And this is, again, this isn't something we just decided on overnight. So I appreciate everybody coming out, but I'm a little bit rubbed wrong with the fact that this wasn't available before or we haven't had input before because there's been plenty of time for input. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman.
Just one, I'll call the question momentarily. Commissioner Lynchard had a comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to expound on something that Commissioner Cole hit on, and that is that our vote today is not to buy this property. Our vote today is to select a proposed site for a judicial center. Whatever site we select will be vetted through staff. We'll get a contract in place that is contingent upon the successful passage of a sales tax referendum later this year. And then it will be up to the people to decide whether or not the site we have selected is suitable for the long-term needs of the county. Our goal is not to select a site just because the 4 of us want to put a courthouse on that site. Our goal is to select a site that's going to serve the needs of the residents of Santa Rosa County for the next 75 or 100 years. And people's opinions are going to differ on that. And that's going to be our job for the next 6 or 8 months to flesh this idea out and communicate that to you and everyone else that lives in Santa Rosa County, that this is a good site and that it will serve the needs of our residents well into the future.
All right. The question has been called, and we all know the item before us, so someone want to make a motion?
Chairman?
I'm sorry.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to answer two of the questions that the audience was asking.
The question's been called. We're going to move forward with this. Thank you, Mr. Spencer. I apologize if we overlooked you. Did you light your mic up and I missed you?
Mr. Chairman, I think we ought to hear from Clerk of Court. This is a big subject. I think we need everybody's input.
The audience should know the amount of people that are using this courthouse. They want to know if a study's been done. I did a study that I submitted to the county commissioners. Over a period of 7 months, there's about 70,000 citizens of Santa Rosa County that come into that courthouse. 3% of those are from the sheriff's office. 97% are the general public that come and use that courthouse. That does not include employees. That includes citizens that are coming in the front door of the courthouse. So I think it's important that our citizens do know that our courthouse is used other than by the sheriff's office. It's general public that's coming in that courthouse. The numbers from the sheriff's office over time will go down because we have video arraignments and video first appearances. Docket day will go to video with the sign of a pen by the Office of the Supreme Court, and that's coming down in the future. I just don't know when, but it will happen during the lifetime of this new courthouse. So I just think the public needs to be aware of that.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Spencer. The question has been called.
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner Salter.
I'm going to try this. I'd like to move approval of the Highway 90 Colwell Bankers site and direct staff to start negotiating with the owner, considering the front and back proposals without objection.
I object.
So I'll make that a motion. I'm looking for a second.
Second.
All right. We need to record the votes, or we just do this visually. The motion is to accept the Highway 90 property, and all in favor, just raise your right hand. Thank you. And opposed? And Commissioner Salter, Cole Lynchard voted yes. Commissioner Belvin voted no. Commissioner Williamson was absent. Okay. Before we go back to our 9:30 public hearing, which we're a little late for, we're going to take a 10-minute break. Please be back in place at 11 o'clock. Thank you all for your attention. Okay, if everyone would make their way toward their seats, please. Okay, time is 11:01, and we're back after the break. Next item is the public hearings scheduled for 9:30, and the hearing is regarding an amendment to Ordinance 2012-01 to include an exemption for tangible personal property to the Economic Development Incentive Ordinance for qualified business. Materials in your backup. Does anybody have any questions? Commissioners, comments?
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Cole.
Just real quick, has anybody kept up with where the state is on this? Because I understand the governor and legislature's looking at maybe doing away altogether with personal tangible property. Are we anywhere with that?
No, sir, I'm afraid I don't know about that.
Anything we do here today, they can enhance. So I'll move this for
Commissioner,
approval.
I apologize. I think it's clear in the ordinance that was drafted, but just to make it clear on your agenda, this does offer a rebate for tangible personal property
Right.
tax, and that is clear in the
Right.
the draft that you have.
So we wouldn't be. It would just add to the attraction value. All right. Well, I'll move approval without objection. Hearing none, it passes, and public hearing is now closed, and we'll go back to the administrative committee, and we're on item number 2. Item number 2 is recommended contract with Davis, South Barnett, and Patrick LLC for advertising and marketing services for the Tourist Development Council. Materials in your backup. If you have any questions, I move approval of objection. Hearing none, it passes. Item number 3 is recommended of our Beach Sea Turtle Conservation Center install a saltwater well at the location to be determined by technical staff. This is just giving us permission to drill our park. They'll have to go through the permitting, et cetera. I recommend approval without objection. Hearing none, it passes. Item number 4 is discussion of interlocal agreement with City of Milton for the use of the county-owned property for effluent disposal.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Salter.
On Monday, I had questions, and Commissioner Cole did too. Since then, I've spoken with the mayor of Milton and the city manager of Milton. They're looking at a drop-dead deadline for tomorrow to submit a grant application to the state in support of their new sewer plant over in East Milton. This spray field has to be included in that proposal. So in order to support them moving forward with the understanding and commitment from the mayor and the city manager that within the next 30 days, their attorney will sit down with our attorney and address future capacity needs of the Whiting Aviation Park, and they've committed to that. With that understanding, I would recommend approving the interlocal agreement with the City of Milton for use of county-owned property for effluent disposal with a memorandum of understanding for future capacity of the Whiting Aviation Park.
Is that what, an objection?
Without objection.
Hearing none, it passes. And if you would please try, if you can have that ready by this afternoon after lunch, I will sign it. If it's that short a fuse with City of Milton, you said they need it by tomorrow, drop dead. Let's try to get it to them by the close of business today.
It's already ready.
Is it ready, just ready to be signed?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll sign that.
But just to be clear, you are authorizing staff to proceed with this interlocal agreement, the memorandum of understanding to come back at a future meeting.
Okay, so you don't need a signature on it or anything?
You will need to sign this.
Okay, all right, I'll get with you after this.
Mr. Chairman, there's a 4B on that as well.
Yes, sir. So item number 4 has been passed without objection. Item 4B is Commissioner Salter's add-on.
Mr. Chairman, this is kind of a follow-on of the discussion, the vote we just had, and that would be to recommend approval of a letter from the Board of County Commissioners supporting the City of Milton's new sewer plant in the East Milton Industrial Park, and they need that to go along with their package tomorrow as well. And I would move approval without objection.
Hearing none, it passes. And same comment, if you could try to do get that ready.
Thank you, Mr.
All right, hearing none, that is approved. Item number 5 is recommend the development of the Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, application for installation of water line and fire hydrant upgrade by the Midway Water System in several neighborhoods as recommended by the Citizens Advisory Task Force. And I move approval without objection. Hearing none, it passes. Item number 6 is recommend the Navarre Beach Sea Turtle Center's Amazing Race for Survival, Saturday, April the 5th, 2014, on Navarre Beach, beginning at 8 a.m. I move approval without objection. Hearing none, it passes. Item number 7 is recommend 3rd Annual Surf Warriors event on Navarre Beach, Saturday, May the 3rd, 2014, benefiting the Wounded Warriors Project, sponsored by the Florida Surf Association. I move approval without objection. Hearing none, it passes. Item number 8 is recommend the annual Marine Sanctuary Run for the Reef 5K race on Navarre Beach, Saturday, October the 18th, 2014, sponsored by the Navarre Chamber Foundation, beginning at 7:30. I move approval without objection. Hearing none, it passes. Item number 9 is recommend the 2nd Annual Autism Odyssey Sea event on Navarre Beach, Saturday, April the 12th, 2014, hosted by the Navarre Beach Marine Science Station, beginning at 10 a.m. I recommend approval without objection. Hearing none, it passes. Item number 10 is recommend the Color Splash Beach Bash 5K run on Navarre Beach, Saturday, April the 19th, 2014, sponsored by the Navarre High School Student Government Association, beginning at 7 a.m. I recommend approval without objection. Hearing none, it passes. Item number 11 is recommend scheduling Thursday, April the 10th, 2014, regular meeting in the Tiger Point Community Center, and you guys are ready and able to support that, so I recommend approval without objection. Hearing none, it passes. Item number 12 is recommend FY 2014-2015 budget calendar of events. I recommend approval without objection. Hearing none, it passes. Item 13 is recommend the Pace Assembly of God Extreme Race for Color 5K run in the neighborhood proximate to the church, Saturday, May the 12th, 2014, beginning at 8 a.m. And do so without objection. Hearing none, it passes. Item 13, meetings, unless otherwise noted, will be held on the board here in this administrative center. They're posted on the internet and available for anybody here that would like a paper copy. I move approval without objection. Hearing none, passes. That completes the administrative committee. Next is the engineer's report. Mr. Blaylock.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item number 1 is we're recommending scheduling interviews with the following engineering firms to conduct the Holly by the Sea Drainage Master Plan. That's Baskerville Donovan, Inc., DRMP, Inc., Faber Engineering, Inc., and Hatchmont McDonald Engineering.
And I had omitted it from the agenda, Mr. Chairman, but that should be February the 24th, beginning at 1:30.
Okay, if you'll all make a change to that, pen and ink, those meetings are scheduled February 24th at 1:30, beginning at 1:30, and I move approval without objection. Hearing none, it passes.
Item number 2, recommend proposal and contract with Ken Horn and Associates, Inc. for engineering services for the Settlers Colony Hazard Mitigation Grant Drainage Improvements Project.
I recommend approval without objection. Hearing none, it passes.
Item number 3, we recommend Volkert and Associates, Inc. for engineering services for the site certification process for the 160-acre Jeff H. site.
I move approval without objection. Hearing none, it passes.
Item number 4, recommend Yaley Halstead, Inc. for engineering services for the site certification process for the Northwest Florida Industrial Park at I-10 site.
I recommend approval without objection. Hearing none, it passes.
And item number 5, we'll recommend purchase of materials in the amount of $12,561.79 for the extension of the water line by East Milton Water System to upgrade the fire protection at Peter Prince Airport.
I recommend approval without, well, hold on one. I asked Monday for a confirmation on the water capacity issue.
We had received that from East Milton in email form and had forwarded that out to y'all.
I've been tied up all morning, haven't seen my emails.
Yes, we received an email from East Milton Water Systems that it would not affect the capacity and flow in our industrial park, and they had adequate.
Okay, that's
both.
fine. I just wanted
Yes, sir.
that cleared up. I recommend approval without objection. Hearing none, it passes.
And finally, item number 6, we're recommending the final plat for Pace Mill Creek Phase 2. This is a private 27-lot subdivision located in Working District 1.
I recommend approval without objection. Hearing none, it passes. Next is Public Service Committee, Commissioner Lynchard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item number 1 is recommend soliciting bids for the abatement of unsafe structures located on the following properties: 3998 Adams Road in Milton, 4425 Alanthus Street in Milton, 4537 Church Street in Milton, 5303 Pecos Pass, Gulf Breeze, and 5300 Yancey Drive in Pace. I move approval without objection.
Hearing none, it passes.
Item 2, recommend development of amendment to appropriate ordinance to consolidate the building, mechanical, and plumbing boards of adjustments and appeals into one board. I move approval without objection.
Hearing none, it passes.
Item 3, recommend initiation of process to amend the Land Development Code, Comprehensive Plan, and the future land use map to allow NB high-density zoning district located outside commercial core area. Unless there's any discussion, I'll move approval without objection.
Hearing none, it passes.
Item 4, recommend bid in the amount of $11,369 from Mike Moats Builders, LLC, as the sole bidder on SHIP emergency repair project at 2394 Cove Road, and further recommend exceeding the maximum project limit established in the SHIP Local Housing Assistance Plan. And I do so without objection.
Hearing none, it passes.
Item 5, recommend resolution authorizing release of restrictive covenant, allowing Loaves and Fishes Soup Kitchen, Inc. to sell the property at 6914 Overman Street to very low-income family pursuant to remainder of covenant. And I do so without objection.
Hearing none, it passes.
Item 6, recommend approval of request for proposal to be advertised for preventative maintenance plans for 2 APC UPS units located in the Emergency Management Communications Center. And I do so without objection.
Hearing none, it passes.
And that concludes Public Services, Mr.
Thank
Chairman.
you, Commissioner Lynchard. Public Works, Commissioner Cole.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item number 1 is recommend resurfacing the following roads in Working District 4 at an estimated cost of $53,246. Lakeside Drive from Cynthia Street to St. James Street, Cynthia Street Northern 220 feet, and 3 Notch Trail from McClellan Cemetery, 0.76 miles northward. Do so without objection.
Hearing none, it passes.
Item 2 is recommend paving Johnny Parker Road in the Working District 4 at an estimated cost of $34,793. I do so without objection.
Hearing none, it passes.
Item 3 is recommend 1-year extension of agreement with Contact Engineering Solutions, LLC for corrugated aluminum culvert pipe at the existing rate schedule. I do so without objection.
Hearing none, it passes.
Item 4 is recommend letter to Florida Department of Transportation supporting proposed improvements at the US 90 and Pace Lane, Kaiser Lane intersection. I do so without objection.
Hearing none, it passes.
Item 5 is recommend encroachment agreement with Sandra K. Shinek as a trustee of the Sandra K. Shinek Family Trust, and futures assigns the encroachment of swimming pool into drainage and utility easement on Lot 56, Block B of Sundial Estates Phase 2. Do so without objection.
Hearing none, it passes.
Mr. Chairman, that concludes Public Works Committee.
Thank you, sir. Budget and Finance, again, Commissioner Cole.
Thank you. Item number 1 is recommend Budget Amendment 2014-078 in the amount of $4,200 from boat registration fees in general fund to fund the boating restriction and regulation signage as approved at the November 14, 2013. Do so without objection.
Hearing none, it passes.
Item 2, recommend Budget Amendment 2014-079 in the amount of $3,500 carrying forward unspent funds for training and certifications in the Enhanced 9/11 Program Fund. Do so without objection.
Hearing none, it passes.
Item 3, recommend Budget Amendment 2014-080 in the amount of $61,900, carrying forward funds to for canal maintenance in the Ski Watch Canal Maintenance MSBU Fund. I do so without objection.
Hearing none, it passes.
Item 4 is recommend Budget Amendment 2014-0081 in the amount of $3,058,816, carrying forward funds for the Small County Outreach Program, SCOP, resurfacing and bridge repair project on Munson Highway in the Road and Bridge Fund. I do so without objection.
Hearing none, it passes.
Item 5 is recommend Budget Amendment 2014-082 in the amount of $9,981 for playground equipment in the Swinson Park from District 5 Recreation Reserves. I do so without objection.
Hearing none, it passes.
Final item is recommend county expenditures and check register, which I made a mistake the other day. I had already signed it and give it to you, so there's so many of them things you can't keep up with them. Anyway, it's on your desk, and I move that without objection.
Hearing none, it passes.
And that concludes this report.
Thank you, County Administrator.
I don't have any items. I believe there's a correction, Mr. Chairman, to one of the items on the Public Services Committee that Ms. Jones has.
If you would consider amending your motion on item 5 under Public Services, we refer to very low-income family, which has a specific definition, and I believe that the family that is going to purchase this property is actually a low-income family as opposed to very low. So if maybe we could amend the motion so that the property may be sold to a low-income family.
I'll amend my motion without objection.
Hearing none, it passes. And County Administrator, that clears up now. County Attorney, there's no public forum. Anything else from any of the rest of the staff? Seeing none, hearing none, we are adjourned.